Okay, this is the second installment of publishing training videos. Today we're going to go over blogs, and I'm going to use an interactive blog because it generally uses the same format as a blog, just has an extra little step in it for the embed code and for YouTube and form that goes to the bottom. But otherwise, you still use all the same principles for blog posting. You just actually have to do less for a regular blog. So let's get started here. First things first, we go to our link in Teamwork, and Holly is nice enough to post everything in here. So we're going to pull up this Google Doc. I know a lot of the stuff you guys know already, but I'm just being as thorough as humanly possible for everyone's benefit. So here is our Google Doc that we need. Next thing we need to do is get into the back end of LH Recovery. In the CM, here it is. Open like a new tab. See if it remembers me. And we're good. All right, first things first, after getting in and getting our content, we go to post, as all blogs are published as posts, and add new. So first thing here to fill out, enter title here is always going to be the title. Not title tag or SEO title, but title. Sometimes you'll find it in here where the rest of the content of the body starts, and sometimes it will be up here in with the other SEO stuff. Do that and drop that in here. This is going to be automatically your header 1 or H1. Once you fill that out, we're actually going to skip down to the Yoast SEO stuff first because we want to make sure we fill all that out because that's a very important part of this process. We're going to start with the snippet editor. Click Edit Snippet and see SEO title. Here we have it, it's known as SEO title on this, but in some other Google Docs it's known as title tag. That is the same thing. So we're going to copy that, drop that in the SEO title. And then slug, looks like they have one filled in here, but we're not totally sure if that's the one we're actually going to use. And it looks like we don't actually have one specified here. Oftentimes in the Google Doc you will see something that says suggested URL, and that's where the slug will go. But seeing as how we don't have one, we're going to have to make one. And when you have to make a slug, you use the focus keyword predominantly. So we're going to put that in. And because this is a video, for iBlogs, we want to put video in the beginning of the slug URL because that's used for SEO purposes and will help us score. Video addictive painkillers, and that's pretty much what we want there. Next is the meta description. That is entitled as such in the Google Doc. Copy that. Drop that in the meta description. Let's see here. It's not giving us a great score because we don't have the word video in it. Actually, it's not giving us a good score because we haven't put the focus keyword in yet. So we're going to do that. We're going to get focus keyword, addictive painkillers. Drop that in the focus keyword, close the snippet editor, and then the next after that is meta keywords. And that is named the same way. Copy that. And paste. Alright, it's only orange right now, the Yoast score. And that's probably going to change to green as soon as we fill out the body content. So that's what we're going to start with next. Now we start with the actual content here. So we're going to start by taking that first piece there, drop it in up here. And actually, we're supposed to put the headline 3 goes in here right at the top before we actually start the body. So let's grab that headline 3 before we continue. Post that in there. And this is a subheader, not quite an H2, because that's a little too big. So we're going to try an H3 here. I've never actually done a post for RCA. This is the first iBlog I've done for them. So we might get some edits back for this as from the first time. And we're going to see how that works when we preview it, see if that H3 actually works. If it's too big or too obnoxious of a color, we might have to drop it down to a lower one, a lower heading setting like H4 or H5, something like that. Now we can continue on with the rest of the body. So the next part here we have, this is one part that's a little different than normal blogs. We have what's called embed code here for the video. There's a couple different ways to put this in, and a lot of clients are actually different. I'll try to explain them. We'll see how this one works. This is the first time we've actually had to post for them. Okay, so the easiest way is going to be using the backend editor and Visual Composer to add the HTML of the embed code. So we're going to do that. Click backend here, it's right up top. And we're going to add a section here. You press the plus at the bottom. We're going to search for one of these elements known as HTML, raw HTML. You just type in the search and it'll come up right away. So click that, because we're going to add that type of section to our post. And it gives you this little dialog box to put in your HTML. You can only put HTML in here. You don't want to put regular text in there, and it's not going to show up correctly. It's going to be completely unformatted. So we're going to make sure we have this embed code, copy it, and place it in here. A new practice we're doing now is we're adding in an anchor tag so we can more easily find where our videos are and which pages have them and which pages don't. So we're going to add that anchor tag, and it's put a beginning bracket A, so we're going to do A, name, equal sign, double quotes, the word video, end quotes, and you want to put a semicolon in there right after video too, and close the bracket off. This is so we can find them more easily. And Scott Kenway does SEO optimization and portal analysis. All right. And now the next part is we're going to continue adding the body content here underneath the video. This is going to be, when you want to add a new section, you always have to press the plus at the bottom here below what you just put, the smaller one. You can do this bigger one too. It doesn't really matter actually. Either one, it ends up being the same. So this is going to be a text block. That's what normally our body content is going to be, a text block. And this is where you can go back to just putting in normal text edited things, like how you normally post. You're going to notice that when you post these things in and copy and paste them, the spacing is always skewed to be larger than it ought to be. So we have to make sure we close all those gaps. So here at the top, you see there was one here. This one can be closed. This can also be closed. And this title here is bold, but if you look back here, it looks like this is actually supposed to be an H2. All secondary headers you want to try to make an H2. Again, we're going to have to check this in the preview before we actually publish to see what those actually look like, as I don't know yet. This is my first time posting an iBlog for them, for RCA. Now, a little confusing here. It seems they put the embed code here after the first paragraph. That usually, up until now, every other time, this is exactly where they want the video. When I scroll down further, I notice it says insert video here, and then when you actually read the text, it leads to that. So that tells me that they don't actually want the embed code in the body here. They actually want it down here. But if you're ever confused about this formatting, always ask a project manager. Never assume. Never, ever assume. So we're actually going to move this embed code. We're going to save changes here. Actually, I might be able to just move this below. It looks like we can. So in this instance, this is the really great thing about the Visual Composer, is that you can simply shuffle around blocks that you've constructed. And because we need to move this below where it says learn more about painkiller abuse in this video down here, we know we have to move the embed code, which is the actual video, and move it below. So now we're good. And we're going to copy this next selection here. And might as well just take the rest of it all the way to the bottom. And we're going to add a section here, a text block. Delete all this, and then paste everything else in there. So right away, first thing when you copy and paste, you have to make sure the spacing is correct. So we're going to start closing that spacing one at a time. So at a glance, the spacing looks pretty good. Want to make font weight bold on the phone number, always. It's just a good practice. Control B will do it, or Command B if you're using a Mac. A good practice always for bullet points is getting the branded color of our client and putting it in the bullet points and any title to the bullet points, like this right here, the use of medication prescribed for someone else, colon. That's the title of that particular bullet point. So that also needs to be the same color. So first things first is we have to find out what that color actually is. So how do we find what their branded color for RC? What's RC's branded color? Well, the first thing you're going to do is go into Teamwork, and you want to check, see if they have a publishing checklist guidelines for RCA themselves. All right, open that in a new tab. Wait for this to load. Notebooks. We have case notes, and we have RCA Press. This doesn't look like they have any publishing guidelines here. So since they don't have any publishing guidelines, we have to go to RCA's website, and we have to see how they normally do it. So we're going to go to lhrecovery.com. Now it looks like we have this blue here. We also have this red here. So we're gonna get both of those colors, and we're gonna use one, and then when we get it published and everything, we're gonna check it, and then we're gonna ask the PM, because it's the first time we're publishing for this. We're gonna make sure that that's the color that we're supposed to use, since there's two of them. We're not exactly sure which one. The best way to find a color, there's a really neat plugin called iDropper. You can get it on Chrome. It's a very simple plugin to download, and it gives you this little dropper up here in the top corner. You click that, and then it asks you pick color from web page. So you click that. You hover your mouse over the colors that you want. So this is a red that we want to use. So once you find the color you want, click it, and then it will save that color. And we're not done yet, because there's a blue color that we might also have to use. So we're going to try to get that one too. And press the eyedropper again, pick color from web page, and this looks like this is the same blue. You want to get it from a really solid block of color. If you try to get it off of letters, you run the risk of being on a pixel that only has half of the color rendered. We don't want that. All right, now we have both of our colors in our eyedropper tool, and go back to the post here. And now we're going to implement these colors into our bullet points and bullet point headlines. These aren't actually supposed to be considered as headers per se, but it's just a title to the actual bullet point. Okay, so if you want to, with this we have to actually edit the code itself. So we go into text, and that'll show you the HTML code. And for bullet points in HTML are, you'll find them. It's right here. It's a bracket, and then it says LI. That's for list item, is what that means. And we want to add color to the style of it. So we're going to go into, it says LI style, and then inside the quotation marks, we're going to type color, give it a colon, and then we're going to get our color in there, the hex code, or the RGB. It doesn't really matter. For me, I like to use the hex code. It's just a little bit simpler. So let's try this red, because I kind of like the red. Copy that. You can copy it right from inside the actual plugin list. Close it off with a semicolon, and then we're going to copy that into we're going to copy it and paste it into the other bullet points where it says LI style. That's where you want to put it in. Do it for all three of them. Save changes. Now you'll see down here, this is the one we just edited, and it turned all of them red. And that's normal. We're just going to have to change the rest of the text back to our normal text paragraph color. So we're going to go back in and edit. Highlight the rest of the text after the title, and change that back to our normal, very dark gray text color. The same there, and the same here. That looks pretty good. Let's save changes. Now we have some images to deal with too. We want to put those in before we preview. So we have blog images specified down here, and this image up here. Let's see what this Shutterstock image is. So that's the one up top. It looks like that's most likely going to be the featured image. If you're unsure whether the image at the top or the image down here is the featured image, always ask the project manager. you ever have a question, always ask the project manager. This seems to be the same image. So it looks like this is at least the featured image. And we're going to ask the project manager to make sure if they want this image actually part of the body content or not. No. Okay, so we have talked to the project manager, which was Holly, because we had in the Google Doc, down here at the bottom, it says blog image, and up here at the top, it has image, and they're the same exact image. Because this is a video, we're only using the video in the actual body content. We're not going to use an image in the body content. We're going to use that image as the featured image. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that image, and then we're going to download it from Shutterstock. Just going to highlight this number. This number here tells you exactly what photo that is in Shutterstock if you have access to it. If you don't, you can ask either myself or someone on Dennis's team or the project manager for the image. Don't be afraid to ask them because it's in their court now. If you don't have access to Shutterstock, that's okay. We can only afford so many people to be on it to begin with. But never under any circumstances ever download an image just from Google, even if it's similar. It doesn't matter. We can get nailed for copyright infringement here in America, and we can get the pantsuit off of us. And everyone wants to keep their pants on. So if you don't have access, always ask a project manager, reach out. If you're under pressure to get it done, then that means they're going to answer you a lot more quickly. Always ask if you ever have a question with anything, ask someone. Never be afraid to ask. We're all friendly people here. We all care about you, publishers. Okay, so we're going to go to Shutterstock here. We're going to copy and paste that number for the photo so we can find it directly. Because it's a featured image, we have to know exactly which size we need for the featured image. So I'm actually going to ask a project manager for that because there's no publishing notes. So we were looking for what size we need for the featured image. One shortcut is to just go to the blog for us, Electric Recovery. That's where we are now. Find the featured image, which will be right here. This is in the blog reel. Right-click it and click Inspect, and then it'll show you over here in the side in code all the stuff you need to know. And when you highlight this down here in the corner, you can see that it's highlighted the picture and it tells you exactly how big it is. So it looks like it's 870 by 409. From what I also understand, featured images, when you place them in there, as long as they're big enough, they will scale it exactly to the right size for featured images and it won't lose anything. So you have to make sure that at least the picture you're putting in there is bigger than the 870 by 409 pixels that is required for featured images. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go in and download this portrait in medium, 1000 by 667, because that's bigger than we actually need, and WordPress will automatically resize it to the size we need. If it's smaller, you don't want it as smaller, because if it's smaller, then it'll blow it up bigger than it really is, and then it'll be pixelated and not good. Won't look very good at all. So we're downloading the image. Again, if you don't have access to Shutterstock and this is what's been given to you that you need to use, just ask myself or ask somebody on Dennis's team or ask a project manager to help you locate that file in a legal way. We're going to save this as, what's our blog title? Addictive Painkillers, iBlog. Give it a date, 7/16. This is just my own personal flash drive that I use. And this is for RCA. Not a valid name because I used incorrect backslashes. There we go. We're going to hop back over here and set featured image. Upload by drag and drop. Now that it's loaded, we have to make sure that we fill in the alt text right down here before we actually set the featured image. And the alt text is going to always be the focus keyword, also known as just simply keyword. Copy that and place that in the alt text. And set featured image. All right, so that's in there. Now, I did talk to the project manager, and when I was going over the blog, I did notice that bullet points are actually in blue, not in red. Good thing we took the blue, so now we can just simply, very simply, change this. So we're going to go back over to our plugin up at the top here. And the last blue is the last color we have. I'm going to copy that hex code, and then we're going to replace it where we had the red color code. You don't have to change anything else, just the color code. Add here, and add here. Switch it back to the visual. It looks like it didn't even change the rest of the text. That's beautiful. Now we don't have to do extra work. Save changes. Okay, so we don't have to add a form to this iBlog. This client doesn't have forms enabled on their WordPress, and I've talked to Holly, the project manager, and we're good as far as that is concerned. So we've everything filled in. We've, at a glance, looked at all of the formatting in here. We filled out everything in Yoast appropriately. We're going to double check that just to make sure. We're going to double check our featured image to make sure we have the correct alt tag in there, and we do. And one of the last things we want to do is put in all categories that could possibly make sense for this blog. So obviously it's going to be addiction. This is about prescription painkiller addiction and awareness of it and prevention. So we're going to click prevention. We're going to go drug, because we're talking about drugs. Addiction. And it looks like that might be it for this one. So now we do preview. Before we publish anything, we do preview. Featured image looks good up there. You got the H1 tag here, looks good. The H3 there, it's looking good so far. This looks pretty good. Looks like this is a different color as it is a link. That's all right. We got the blue here, the dots on the bullet points. Might try to close this spacing right underneath the video. Let's see if we can change that. So we're going to go into the raw HTML. Maybe I added a space under it by chance, although it doesn't appear that I did. So it's not that. Let's look into this. Maybe I placed a spot there. This looks like this is the size it's going to get. Get it one more time. I want to bold this right here, make it stand out. It's pretty easy to do. Control B when you highlight it. Save changes. One thing I didn't like, this is a little bit subjective to each one's style preferences, but I didn't like the way the H3 looked. Let's see if I can get it on one line and make it bold too. See how that looks. Let me save it and preview again. That looks much better. Yeah, that looks a lot better right there. Nope. Stop that. I don't need to go there. Let's make sure there's no social stuff to fill out. Nope. The last thing is there is an author specified in here. Oh, and it looks like they added the category of opiates. So we want to make sure we get that in there too. You always want to double and even triple check everything you do. There's so many moving parts to this, and there's so many other things to think about. It's easy to miss very small things like that. So if you want to change author, we just added the opiates category up here. We want to look at author, and looks like it's Olga Rossello, MD. And here's Olga Rossello, MD right there, specifying that. Preview one last time. Beautiful. We got Olga up here. You have all our tags up here, our categories that we selected. Featured image looks good, nice and clear. H1 looks good, nice, big, and bold. H3 is right there. We have an H2, which looks great. This leads us into the video quite well, which looks nice. All the bullet points are done appropriately. You know, might want to actually make the headers here. They look like they were bold in the editor, but it turns out that they're not here. Let's go in, make those bold so they stick out, and you can really see the accent color, because that really makes it pop, and it's very visually. This looks like it's bold here. Turn it off, turn it back on again. See if that made it. One last time. There it is. Sometimes you just have to turn the bold off and then back on again to get it to work. That seemed to have done it. All right. Now we're going to no index and no follow, and then publish. That way no one sees it while we're still doing edits if they're necessary. And then if the publishing manager says everything's good, then go back in. And even if they've simply closed the task, that means you don't have any edits, and you have to go back in and change it back to index and follow, or this won't show up anywhere on the internet, and then we won't get any points for SEO for it. And that's a complete waste of everyone's time. So we're going to publish this now. When you see here it says permalink, your permalink slug should always have the words that you specified earlier in it. If it has a date there, that means it's wrong, and you have to go back in and you have to change the actual slug to the keyword or the suggested URL, which is usually placed in the Google Doc. Not this instance, but that's okay. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to go here. We're going to go to the final approval task. Tag Holly as she's the project manager. Tell her it's the live link. Copy, paste it. Save that. But we're not done. We're only done with the blog. Now we have to go back in and do the YouTube posting. When you do, if you ever have to do iBlogs, most of them have you, if not all, have you post to YouTube also. So we're going to go back into the publishing task. We're going to grab the link for the file of the actual video. Earlier it was just an embed code. That's all that you need for pages that are in raw HTML. It looks like this link is broken. So we're going to have to get Holly to get it for us. So we're going to have to ask her. We don't have to put any forms on here, and we have the correct permalink, and everything looks good in the preview here. So we're going to send this off, and we're going to have it post in Teamwork and wait for Holly or any project manager we post for in the future to approve or give edits, and that should be just about it. Always go through your publishing guidelines. So that one closed on me. Here's your publishing checklist. Please bookmark this and make sure you go through all of it. You know, we can go through it right now, actually. Visual inspection. We did that earlier. Make sure all the headers are formatted properly. We only have one H2. We have an H4 at the very top and H1, which is the big title. We can look at the blog format here, and we can put this next to our blog here. Blog title, headline. That looks good. Looks good here. And we don't have an image to actually put in here. The video takes the place of that. So we don't have to worry about this image. We have all of these bullet points are appropriately branded with the color, accent color of LH Recovery. Everything looks good. If you guys have any questions, always just drop me a line. I'm always available to any of you at any point in time. And let's get this working for all of us, and let's get it going.